Who is the best wing for you right now in the 2022 NBA draft?
Define best. Do you mean like
who is the one that you would take highest?
Gosh.
Right so let's say they're all still on the board after, and this is not including Jabari Smith, who we think of as more of like a 4. I would understand if you want to include Jabari Smith here. We're choosing not to. But if we are, he would be very clearly the top 1. Not including Paulo Banchero, not including Chet Holmgren, not including Jaden Ivey, obviously. So who is your guy?
It's not my guy. I want to say Pat Baldwin Jr. I can't. I can't based on what we've seen. So I'd say for right now, as crazy it is to get here, I would say Ben Mathurin from Arizona.
Okay, that's an interesting answer. It wouldn't be my answer, but I do want to talk about Ben Mathurin. So give me some thoughts on Ben Mathurin here in terms of why you think he's the guy that you trust most, let's say maybe.
That's fair way of putting it.
Class. Yeah.
He's been really good lately. I mean, the tear he's been on has been noteworthy. He's hitting threes. He's keeping it simple. He's making better, quicker reads. I thought he had that true breakout game against Oregon State. He had 29 points, 6 rebounds. He was 11 for 18 from the field. He was 4 for 9 from 3. I liked how Arizona sped up Oregon State to force them into bad decisions. And the first couple of threes that he had were on fast breaks or in scramble situations, confidently caught it, knocked it down, no problem.
Yeah.
The numbers are a little funky when you dive in because he's a significantly better shooter when guarded versus unguarded. People say maybe throw that out, but it shows he's taking a lot of difficult shots at times. I do feel like he's tapered that off more than he had the first handful of games anyway. He's converted in transition too. Like these games, when you actually just watch the chopped up highlights, it looks like a package you'd see on draft night with him putting it behind his back and dunking and catching backdoor alley-oops. And then the next time out, he hits a 3, then he does the 3 on the side of the head. So he believes in kind of the trajectory he's on. I am a little worried about the passing and the passing reads. He can be a blinders guy on the catch or when he turns the corner coming off screens. Like he's going to get Ben Mathurin. He's not kicking out a Tubelis who's spacing the floor or Terry who's opposite. He's going to attack and try to dunk and pull.
Yeah. And for what it's worth on that front too, I do think part of that is the scheme. You go back, you look at Gonzaga past, right? Their wings are more floor spacers than they are like playmakers and passers, right? Like they're play finishers, they're cutters, they're transition players. Like we talked at length last year about how Corey Kispert was the highest scoring transition player in college basketball last season. And new coach Tommy Lloyd obviously comes from 20 years at Gonzaga. They're running very similar stuff in terms of what Gonzaga has run under Mark Few. So I do think that it is worth contextualizing the passing a little bit. I agree with you. I think that you're absolutely right that Mathurin's passing needs to improve. But part of that, I do think, is schematic to an extent.
And it's just simplifying for him. It sounds strange, but I don't love it when he dribbles. He gets himself into trouble when he's bringing the ball up or anything beyond 2 or 3 dribbles in the half court. When he catches it on the wing, shot fake, 2 dribbles, hard pull up, cut opposite, he can get trapped and turn it over when he tries to do more than that. But when he does limit it, it's been pretty damn good. It has. I mean, he had the press break highlights, he's hitting threes with his feet set. He had a 2-hand alley-oop that he finished with still with one hand. It shows you the body control. He holds his ground on drives. So he's kind of going on the upward trajectory, for me anyway, when a lot of the other guys haven't really separated themselves from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, another thing that I'll mention too is that I'm comfortable with him dribbling more than twice, right? I just want it in a straight line.
Sure.
Right. Like that's the key. Yep. Like I think he's actually pretty good at stopping. He has like a good jump stop floater as well. Like that I think is going to be a really effective shot for him at the next level whenever he has to attack closeouts. He's obviously a high level shooter. We believe in that skill set. Where are you on him defensively? Because that's where I think he's fine on defense.
Fine. Yeah.
I don't think he's like an elite level defender who's going to be like a high level impact guy in the NBA. I think he'll handle his position well. I think that like you're going to be able to switch him at the very least 1 through 3 right now. Maybe 4s later in his career, especially given the way that the 4 position is downsized. but I don't see him being like an impact defender either. I think he's just like a passenger is probably like too strong of a word defensively, because I don't think that he's going to hinder your defense, but I don't think he's going to hurt it, or I don't think he's going to like be the guy who lifts it either.
No, it's kind of just not indifference. That's a bad word, but he just needs to be a little bit more fundamentally sound. He is a gambles guy. He does want to get steals. He does want to have that highlight play out on the break, and it has to be just less of that. Rotation's a little bit better, a little bit tighter. They have some bigger games coming up too, so we'll be able to see it more. I'm hoping that the offense, not that it was ever off, but then he just had 28 or so against Tennessee the other night, and they got a tough whistle. I think he fouled out too. But he has more of those matchups coming up where hopefully he can build on some of the lukewarmish defensive efforts, pair it with the offense, and become this top 7-8 guy in the draft.
Okay. So I would have Ben Mathurin in the top 10 right now pretty easily. Like I'm with you on that. I would still take Kendall Brown now.
Oh, let's do it. Let's dive in. I'm ready.
And I think that this is like a preference thing, right? More than it's like an eye of the beholder. What I like in terms of skill sets for the NBA as opposed to you. And I think that your case is totally reasonable as well, because both of these guys have flaws. Like Ben Mathurin making passing reads, high level defensive effort. It's a concern, right? But his shooting is going to get him on the court immediately. Kendall Brown, I don't know where I stand on the shooting because he just doesn't really take them. Like he doesn't really look at the basket. So that's honestly like probably a good sign.
Doesn't that scary though?
We're
talking top 5. He won't look at the hoop. Has to scare you a little bit. Has to give you some hesitancy.
Oh, it terrifies the hell out of me. Absolutely terrifies me. But he does everything else. And this gets back to that idea. And maybe it's just like right now I'm so focused on this idea of like connective tissue players, right? And guys who scale, right? Like that's the thing. These guys who are multi-skilled and defend and pass and have a great feel for the game, they scale in the playoffs because you can trust them to make good decisions. You can trust them to make the right reads. You can trust them to defend multi-positions. You can just have faith in them. And this is a weird comparison, but like when I watch him, I see a lot of the things that have made Franz Wagner successful early this season so far.
Go on.
And he's much more athletic. He's much more explosive, but like he's a really good off-ball passer. And by that, I mean like he's a really smart cutter, and then he catches and he quickly surveys, or he has already surveyed before cutting and knows where his teammates are going to be. And he can make that quick touch pass, or he can make that like, you know, the next pass kick out after a baseline cut, right? He can also just like run a ball screen and make a reasonable pass. Like, I don't think he's, you know, a high level, unbelievable distributor as passer yet. And they rarely use him in that way. A lot of the time it's more like out in transition. He's making high level passing reads out in transition. A lot of that stuff was there with Wagner last year. A lot of that stuff I think is there with Kendall Brown this year. High level switchable defender. I have full faith that he's going to be really, really good on that end. Like when I see Kendall Brown, I see more of like Aaron Gordon than, you know, Sean Marion or something like that. Aaron Gordon is probably like a top, I don't know, 60, 70 player in the NBA. Definitely an above average starter, let's say. So at number 5, number 6, number 7 in this draft, I'm like pretty cool with that at this point. I know there are flaws. Like I said, he barely looks at the basket whenever he's shooting or whenever he catches the ball in the corner. But like,
I mean, that's with Franz though. Franz 6'10" and moves. He's clearly not as athletic off the ground and by the rim, but I feel like his passes are a little bit crisper, a little bit sharper. And now we're talking about Franz Wagner's potential, at least in discussion, to be rookie of the year. I mean, he's put up multiple 25-point games. He looks like the guy that should have went, 5th overall and not 8th. Everything he did at Michigan has just been amplified in a good way. And now he's becoming sort of a takeover-ish guy with injuries and what have you and roster realignment. When Franz Wagner has a summer to work on his jumper, like forget about it. He's going to be a potentially top 3 guy in that draft. Not hot take. We'll talk about that in a week when we talk about rookies. For Kendall Brown, the good here, what I like is he's a major part of one of the better college defenses in the country. Baylor is legitimately.
I think for what it's worth, I think they are the best defense. I know that LSU
Yeah.
right now is rated as the best defense, but put it this way, Baylor lost Mark Vital and Davion Mitchell and got better defensively because Kendall Brown and Jeremy Sohan and all of those guys came and allowed them to be more flexible. And I think that speaks to the value of positional size defensively in length and athleticism. Like, it is such an enormous benefit that Kendall Brown, like to me, that is the difference between why I would take Kendall Brown over Johnny Davis. Like, it's much harder to be 6'5" and make a defensive impact than it is to be 6'8" and make a defensive impact like Kendall Brown can.
And that team, it's like a 40-minute shell drill of rotations, traps, forcing teams into bad situations. And for Kendall Brown specifically, he is like so bad. He's like a shark. Like, he always has to stay in motion. Like, he dies if he stops. He never stops. If you watch him, like, he's always moving. Offense, defense, foul called, whatever. It's like his feet are always moving. He's on the balls was in. He's bouncing around. He's trapping. He's running. He's cutting through. What I am concerned about, and what we talked about here a little bit, in the context of a top 10 pick, is the offense. Yes, he's shooting 70% from the field, like 71%. He's like second in the country, which is outrageous, but he doesn't look at the rim on the catch on many possessions. He doesn't try to create. Unless someone else is creating for him or he catches it versus a shifting defense, he's going to reverse the ball almost as soon as he touches it. I mean, Baylor runs that high dribble weave, and he's content just weaving. Like, he'll just weave all day. Like, oh, here you go. Like, and then he'll wait and go back door. He's a great cutter, and he'll catch and dunk it. So because of this, his points per possession and his field goal percentage is through the roof. I mean, there's picking your spots, and there's whatever he does. I tweeted this last week. His shot chart is legitimately everything in the paint. He's taken like 10 3-pointers. He hasn't taken a mid-range jumper. So in terms of analytics darlings, I don't know if that's still like the en vogue thing. It seems like it changes by the minute sometimes with the NBA. I just, for top 5, top 6, until that offense gets there, I'm slow to say he's there for me. He's probably top 10-ish range. I'm not saying he's 35th or anything like that. I love the tools and what he brings to the table defensively. It's just, if I was like a contender, I'm trying to think of somebody who would like have a top 5 pick and just need like one connected piece. Good example is like Golden State. If Golden State had the picks they had last year, I would take him with that Kuminga pick. Like, no problem. Perfect. Like, just pass to Curry, Clay, Poole, Draymond, whatever. Like, connect it, play defense. Perfect. But for the teams that are there right now and I don't have in front of me, I'd want more of like a foundational offensive guy to get my team going.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I think that's all totally reasonable and rational. Like, I don't have defense against that. Like, I would love to not take Kendall Brown at number 5. Also, I don't know who the other guys are. You know, that's the problem.
I don't either. I had no prep for who you're going to say the top wing is, because there's not this hit over the head. Like, how did you miss this guy? It's not.
Well, and here's the guy that I think we're hoping. We're hoping it's AJ Griffin, right? Like,